Okay, now we are going to talk about editing within groups, editing within objects, and isolation mode. So, as you see here, I have, and this is basically just going to be a workflow. If you want to watch along, it'll be kind of an example project. This is the Superman symbol, and I am just going to be showing you how to edit and use the isolation mode. What is the isolation mode? Well, it is Illustrator's way of grouping things without, editing groups without ungrouping. So, for example, let's get a new artboard on this. And I will click new artboard and throw it over here somewhere and hit escape and then go to that artboard full screen and or not full screen, fit the artboard in the window. I will make a square by the M rectangle tool holding down shift, and then I will make sure that fill is kind of a greenish blue color. How about a nice teal? Is that teal or aqua? I don't know. So anyway, then I will make another square holding down shift and make that kind of a deep purple. And then I'll make a rectangle across the two and make that a nice light orange. Okay, so now I have three objects, and I will select them by holding down the command key on my keyboard. Select, let's see. Now I want to group by Control G. Whoops, that's my Control P. I'm using I'm using my game controlling keypad again instead of my regular keyboard. So let's go back to the keyboard. There we go. Command G, Control G. Then I just clicked and made an accident on there. So I've got my group. What if I want to move things around or edit that group without doing things to the group as a whole? Well, right now it's not to the point where I would need isolation mode. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add some stars, and I'm going to make the fill of those stars a red color. And in fact, I will move that to the back by Command Shift, the left bracket. And then I'm going to make sure that I switch to draw behind on the drawing mode and make a bunch of stars just to clutter up this image so it'll make it nearly impossible to do any good selecting. And then I'm going to just select a couple of these stars and change the color so that I can't easily select, by using the magic wand. Basically, I'm just making it difficult for myself to use the tools that we've already discussed, and why it's important to go with the isolation mode option. So, as you can see on the board here, I have red stars, I have orange stars, I have purple stars, I have blue stars, I have blue shapes, I have purple shapes, and I have orange shape. So I can't easily use the magic wand. I can't easily drag around my selection. And if I want to edit the group of the three rectangles, the two squares and the wide rectangle, the best way to do that is undamaging, so non-destructive to any of the other objects, is isolation mode. Because I have a group here, so I can click on my group and I see I have a group here, I know that when I enter isolation mode, it will be editing any of these objects or all of these objects within this group, and only those within the group. And then it's even better than that, because I'll show you that isolation mode is nested. So what is isolation mode? Well, that's easy. You just double click on an object, or a group rather. We'll start with the group. And so I double clicked on this group, and you can see the rest of my artboard, and in fact the rest of my document, is kind of faded out. And that's helpful, because now if I click, I am clicking purposely on these stars out here, and so that will help me as I'm zoomed in. And if my habit is to control click somewhere off the screen to deselect something, so I have this selected, control click to deselect, I'm not going to accidentally click and select that star. So isolation mode is simply that. It isolates either the object or the group away from anything else. So now I can come in here and grab this square. I can give it a rounded rectangle. This one, however, I only want to select this point here. So if I went with the A tool and I started clicking outside of isolation mode, let me show you that. If I have the A tool and I want to select this corner, and so I click, whoops, now I've dragged this star into a place where I didn't want it. So that's another reason why isolation mode is good. I don't accidentally move something. I don't accidentally select it. I don't accidentally move it. I'm going to only edit what I have here. So I can drag around that corner, and now I can make just that corner rounded. I can do whatever I want to it. I can pull this corner way out there if I want. And while it still has this curve, I can play with, or excuse me, while it still has that hard corner, I can manipulate it. Let's say I want to do the same using the direct selection tool to this orange object. I'm going to try and select, nope, I can't select this corner by dragging around it. See, like I do here with the purple one, I can drag around it and manipulate it. This one here, I can drag around it and manipulate. But if I try to drag around this corner, I can't even come from here and manipulate, because, well, I guess I could. But if I was fully zoomed in, I can't click way out there. So if I want to select this corner, the best way is to enter isolation mode again. Let me back out a little bit, and that's Command plus, Control plus on your PC. And now I have access to, with the direct selection tool, I can click on these individual points, and I can drag around them and manipulate them as much as I need. Let's see what else I can do. I can add shapes within this group and make this path a compound shape. So now I have a star within this path that I have. As I go back to selection tool, I can click out to the containing group, and now anytime I click, I can have different objects, but I created it within this one. If it was a group, I can have this group within, and so now I can enter isolation mode for this group. I can put this star here, and let's move it in front. I forgot I was doing the draw in behind. Ooh, that's another thing I just remembered. So I'll double click this star, and now I'm isolation mode in this star. Everything else is faded out. I can get the direct selection tool, pull these corners so it's more of a flowery shape. Pull these corners out so it kind of looks like a chubby little Super Mario star. You know, whatever you want to do with your shapes. But then let's see what else I can do. Let's do draw inside. If I draw inside with that star shape, I can do something pretty cool, I think. I can, whoops, no, I don't want to do that. I want to make a star within the star, and so now I have a star within a star. And so isolation mode, enter that, and I can manipulate this and change the color to kind of a pink color or whatever I want. And there you have it. I have these shapes within shapes, and if I try and select them individually, I can't because I have them within a group. And in order to exit isolation mode, let me show you again. In order to enter, you double click on whatever object or path or whatever you want to select. To exit, you double click off. You can either double click the whole, or you can simply navigate through these breadcrumbs. If you're familiar with internet websites, and you'll see on the web page home, about us, contact information, and then the CEO's name or whatever, and you'll have like these little hierarchical navigation tools. That's what you see here. It's similar to that. So I can select this whole group. I can go work within that group. I can dial down in. I can maneuver my individual objects, and then I can go back out, either step or completely. And you see that it's all within isolation mode that I can edit. So back in there, move that star, maybe change back to the direct selection tool and make this rounded star be a rounded star within that rounded star, and then change the size, constraining on the center and keeping it the same size. And so, yeah, there's a lot of fun things you can do with isolation mode. Let me show you this one. And so I'm back on my Superman logo, and this is actually a path. If you open the window here on your layers, you can see that you have a group of the path. Well, that's a bad example because that's not what I'm selecting. So here we go. So this is make that a little wider so you can see it, a compound path. It is one single path that was copied over from a Photoshop's custom shape. And the reason I did that is because it's easier to work with in Photoshop that way. So now that I have it in Illustrator, I can expand and separate it simply by using isolation mode. Let me show you some things with that. So I have the Superman logo, and I want to fill it with red, and I have the red swatch up here as a fill color. I'll grab the eyedropper tool, and now it's all red. I want to add a stroke to it of 10 points, and yeah, I wanted it black. How did it know? That's the default color. So now what I want to do is color these spaces yellow, the spaces in between. So if I select with my direct selection tool, or excuse me, my group selection tool, so holding down either with A and holding down the Option or Alt key and clicking on them, and then holding Shift so I can get all of them. Well, that's great. So now I can fill it with yellow, right? Wrong. It's still that same compound path. And so I'm going to have to break it apart. So let's undo that by Command Z or Control Z and go back to my selection tool. And what I want to do instead of selecting those is I want to enter isolation mode. So let's double click on the path, and now I'm into isolation mode, and you can tell because everything else kind of grayed out, faded away. And now let's just get one thing. Let's get the group selection tool, and since I have the direct selection tool, I can go to I have the selection tool. I can go to the direct selection tool by holding down Command or Control, and then also holding down Alt or Option, I can get the group selection tool. And then I'll just simply click on the path around the outside. So from here, I have this border selected, which is pretty awesome. So I can Command C or Control C to copy that. And then I will leave isolation mode by double clicking. And now I can paste behind. And remember, that is Command B or Control B on your PC. And then it has the same fill and stroke color that I just previously had. I don't want that. Let's grab the eyedropper tool and pick this yellow. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting to where it looks like it's supposed to. So that is great, except for one problem. I don't want the I don't want it to print. When I print it, I don't want it to print. I'm going to do color separation, which is an issue that we will discuss in a much later video near the last of this course when we are preparing for output. But be aware that as you prepare for color separation, when you have different colors like this red and the yellow, you don't want them on the same plate. We're going to do a plate process rather than a CMYK process where it just takes what you see and fills in the colors as it goes. So it's going to be an actual plate, which is a screen. Essentially think of a stencil. So watch what happens if I select just that yellow color. Well, now I have a yellow diamond shape that I'm not going to be able to use because I don't want that all filled in. So let's delete that. Now what I need to do is I need to make sure that also the black is separated from the red, and that any of these areas that are white are going to be filled with yellow. And I could cheat and go with the live paint tool. However, in my class we haven't discussed that, so let's not try and confuse people. Let's use what we've discussed already. So here's the way I would do it. I would click on my object and I would go to Object, Expand, and here's the case I just mentioned in the last video about expanding, where it would be Expand Appearance versus Expand. Expand is when you have a complex or a compound path. So I will expand that. I will expand the fill and stroke. There's no gradient, so no need to worry there. So now you see that I have the path separated from the stroke itself, or the fill. So again, I click. I'm gonna have to remember I need to ungroup that. I just discussed that in the last video. So Control Shift G or Command Shift G, and now I should be closer to where I need to be. So if I click on the black, I have just the stroke. If I click on the red, I have just the fill. Let's separate it to see. Yep, that's what it did. Pretty awesome. That's what I was going for. Now I want to go into the black isolation mode and only select these inner paths where there's no black, where the white fill or the absence of any fill is. So I will get my group selection tool. Again, I have the selection tool. I can go to the direct selection tool with Command or Control, and then also add in the Alt or Option key to get the group selection, because all I want is this group of paths right there, and hold down Shift and I'll get this one too, and hold down Shift still, and that one as well, and that one as well, and that one, and lo and behold, I think I've got it. Let's hit Control C or Command C, and now I can, since I am, I've got it all selected. Let's double click out of there and let's paste in back again, because I want to put it behind this one in the layer. So Command B, Control B, and it's black. Why is it black? Well, that was the last color we were using. It was the black stroke that had been expanded as a shape. So go again with the eyedropper tool, click on that yellow, and now I have what looks like I feel I should have. So I can separate in my color, my print file, I can separate each of those. I should probably go and select all of these yellows with the magic wand and make them a group. Whoops, undo, because I don't want that group. I don't want that color, that box up there. I only want what's on the artboard here, so Shift to deselect that one. And now I'll group that, and now I can align these back up again. I shouldn't have moved them in this way, but I'll show you one easy way. If you have shapes that are inset from another shape, you can drag similar anchor points and stick them where you know they belong, like that. That's a little off because of the stroke was a width, or was centered. So let's try alignment. Nope, we don't want to do that one. There we go. It moved. Okay. Now you're watching me and you're like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay, now I've got it. Ha. Okay, so now I have the whole Superman symbol. Let's do one more thing. Now we need to put the blue on the outside. So let's grab a marquee or the rectangle tool and go here and there. Whoops, I forgot to go to the back. So let's Command Shift and left bracket, send it to the back, grab that eyedropper tool, get the blue color, and again we're going to have to worry about the separation. We need to separate the outside of the black from the blue now. So we'll go back into the black by double clicking the black and grab the group selection tool by holding down Command to get the direct selection and the Alt key to get the group selection tool. Click it once. We should have it all selected. Control copy or Control C to copy. Double click outside. Now we will enter isolation mode of the blue color and paste in front. Okay, now why is that not combining the shape? Well, that's really easy. This is not a compound shape. So there's one thing that we're going to discuss in the next set of lessons that I'm going to show you heads up right now, and that will be the Pathfinder tool. I've got these both selected, and what I'll do is go to View and down to, Window, down to the Pathfinder, which is Shift Command F9, and then I will minus front, and there it is, and I'm all done with my logo. So again, that's isolation mode, that's editing groups, that's grouping and combining things, and that is the gist of building shapes and being able to manipulate them into looking how you would want them to do. So join me on the next lessons, and we will discuss layers and some of the other things that we can do with Adobe Illustrator.